Welcome back to English Flow Podcast, where we help you achieve fluency naturally and effortlessly. I'm thrilled to have you here today because we're diving into one of the most requested topics from our community, how to speak English without thinking. If you've ever found yourself translating from your native language in your head before speaking, or if you've experienced those frustrating pauses where you know what you want to say but the English words just won't come out smoothly, then this episode is specifically designed for you. By the end of today's session, you'll understand why thinking in English is the key to fluency, and more importantly, you'll have practical strategies that you can implement immediately to start speaking more naturally and confidently. Let's begin by addressing something that many English learners don't realize. When you're translating in your head, you're essentially doing double the work. You're thinking in your native language first, then searching for the English equivalent, and only then speaking. This process creates a significant delay and makes your speech sound unnatural and choppy. Native speakers don't go through this mental gymnastics. They simply think and speak simultaneously because the thought and the language are completely integrated in their minds. This is exactly what we want to achieve for you, and the good news is that it's absolutely possible regardless of your current level. The first major concept I want you to understand is that thinking in English is not about having perfect grammar or knowing every single word in the dictionary. It's about creating direct connections between concepts and English words in your brain, bypassing your native language entirely. Think of it like this. When you see a red traffic light, you don't think red light means stop in words. You just automatically know to stop. Your brain has created a direct association between the visual stimulus and the action. We want to create similar automatic associations with English, where you see something or have a thought and the English words flow out naturally without any mental translation. Now, let me share with you the most powerful technique that transformed my own language learning journey and has helped thousands of our listeners achieve fluency. This technique is called internal monologue practice, and it's something you can start doing right now, today, without any special materials or apps. Here's how it works. Throughout your day, as you're going about your normal activities, start narrating what you're doing in English inside your head. For example, if you're making coffee in the morning, think to yourself in English, "I'm filling the kettle with water. Now I'm turning it on. I need to get my favorite mug from the cupboard. I'm adding 2 spoons of instant coffee." Notice that these are simple sentences, and that's perfectly fine. The goal isn't to impress anyone with complex vocabulary. The goal is to make English your default thinking language. The beauty of internal monologue practice is that it's completely private and pressure-free. Nobody can hear you, nobody can judge you, and you can make as many mistakes as you want. This removes the anxiety factor that often blocks learners from practicing speaking. You can do this while you're cooking, cleaning, walking to work, exercising, or even lying in bed before you fall asleep. The more you do it, the more natural it becomes. After a few weeks of consistent practice, you'll notice something magical happening. The English words will start coming to you faster, and eventually, you won't even realize you're doing it anymore. It will just become your natural thought process. Let me give you another powerful strategy that complements internal monologue practice perfectly. This one is called immersive thinking, and it takes your practice to the next level. Instead of just narrating actions, start having full conversations with yourself in English. I know this might sound strange, but hear me out. Imagine scenarios where you might need to use English. Maybe you're ordering food at a restaurant, Maybe you're explaining your job to someone, or maybe you're describing your favorite movie. Play both roles in your head. Ask yourself questions in English and then answer them in English. For instance, what did I do last weekend? Well, I went to the park with my friends. We had a picnic and played frisbee. It was really relaxing and fun. This technique helps you prepare for real conversations and builds your confidence because you're essentially rehearsing without any pressure. Now, I want to address a common mistake that many learners make when trying to think in English. They try to think about complex, abstract topics right from the start, and when they can't find the words, they get frustrated and give up. Please don't make this mistake. Start with simple, everyday topics and gradually build up complexity. Think about what you can see, what you're doing, what you ate for breakfast, what the weather is like. These simple topics form the foundation of most everyday conversations anyway. As you become more comfortable, you can gradually introduce more complex topics like your opinions on current events, your dreams and aspirations, or abstract concepts. But give yourself permission to start simple. Another crucial element of speaking English without thinking is developing automaticity with common phrases and expressions. Native speakers don't construct every sentence from scratch grammatically. They rely heavily on chunks of language, fixed expressions, and collocations that they've heard and used countless times. These chunks become automatic, requiring no conscious thought. For example, instead of thinking, "I need to," as 3 separate words, it becomes one automatic chunk. Instead of constructing, "How are you doing?" word by word, it comes out as one fluid expression. You can develop this automaticity by focusing on learning phrases rather than individual words. When you learn vocabulary, always learn it in context, in complete phrases that you can use immediately. Let me share with you a game-changing practice technique that will accelerate your progress dramatically. It's called shadowing, and it involves listening to native English speakers and repeating what they say simultaneously, matching their speed, rhythm, and intonation as closely as possible. You can do this with podcasts like ours, YouTube videos, audiobooks, or any audio content that interests you. The key is to focus on mimicking not just the words but the entire package. The pronunciation, the rhythm, the emotional tone, everything. This technique is incredibly powerful because it trains your mouth muscles to produce English sounds naturally and helps your brain process English at native speed. When you practice shadowing regularly, you'll find that English starts to feel more natural in your mouth, and the words begin to flow more easily when you speak on your own. Now let's talk about the role of vocabulary in thinking in English. Many learners believe they need to know tens of thousands of words before they can think in English, but this simply isn't true. Native speakers use a relatively small set of core vocabulary for the majority of their daily communication. Research shows that knowing around 2,000 of the most common English words allows you to understand about 80% of everyday conversations. The key is not to know thousands of obscure words, but to know the most common words deeply and be able to use them flexibly in different contexts. Instead of trying to learn 100 new words this week, focus on truly mastering 20 words. Know them so well that you can use them automatically without thinking. Understand their various meanings, their collocations, and the contexts where they're appropriate. I want to emphasize something really important here. Making mistakes is not just okay, it's absolutely essential for your progress. Many learners are so afraid of making mistakes that they barely speak at all, and this fear is the biggest obstacle to fluency. When you're practicing internal monologue or having conversations with yourself, don't worry about perfect grammar. Native speakers make grammatical errors all the time in casual speech. They start sentences and change direction midway. They use informal contractions and sometimes break traditional grammar rules. What matters is communication, not perfection. When you free yourself from the burden of perfectionism, English becomes so much easier and more enjoyable. You'll find yourself speaking more, and the more you speak, the better you become. It's a beautiful positive cycle. Let me share another technique that our most successful listeners swear by. It's called the response practice technique. Throughout your day, whenever someone speaks to you in any language, practice formulating a response in English in your head, even if you're not actually going to speak English to them. If your colleague asks you about your weekend, mentally prepare your answer in English first. If you're watching a TV show in your native language and a character asks a question, pause and think about how you would answer in English. This constant mental practice keeps your brain in English mode and makes the language more accessible when you actually need to use it. It's like keeping your English muscles warm and ready to perform at any moment. The environment you create for yourself also plays a massive role in your ability to think in English. If you only encounter English during formal study sessions, it will always feel foreign and separate from your daily life. But if you integrate English into your everyday environment, it becomes part of your natural world. Change your phone settings to English. Follow English speakers on social media. Listen to English podcasts during your commute. Watch English YouTube videos about topics you're genuinely interested in. Read English articles about your hobbies. The goal is to make English so present in your life that your brain starts defaulting to it naturally. When English is everywhere around you, thinking in English stops being a special effort and becomes just another part of your day. One aspect that often gets overlooked is the importance of emotional connection to the language. When you learn phrases that express your real feelings, opinions, and experiences, they stick much better than random sentences from a textbook. Start noticing what you actually want to say in your daily life. What topics come up frequently in your conversations? What emotions do you express most often? What situations do you regularly find yourself in? Then learn the English you need for those specific situations. If you love cooking, learn cooking vocabulary. If you're passionate about sports, immerse yourself in sports commentary in English. When you learn language that's personally relevant to you, it becomes meaningful, and meaningful language is remembered effortlessly. Let's discuss the power of thinking in simple English first before attempting complex structures. Many advanced learners struggle with fluency because they try to speak at a level higher than their current automatic processing ability. If you find yourself stuck mid-sentence, struggling to remember a complex grammatical structure, simplify. It's always better to express your idea in simple, clear English than to get stuck trying to construct a perfect complex sentence. Native speakers actually prefer clear, simple communication over unnecessarily complicated language. As your automatic processing ability improves through consistent practice, you'll naturally start incorporating more complex structures without thinking about them. But forcing complexity before you're ready only creates frustration and blocks your flow. Another powerful approach is to use English in your thinking for problem solving and planning. When you're making a to-do list, write it in English. When you're planning your week, think through it in English. When you're trying to solve a problem at work or in your personal life, work through the solution in English. This deepens your engagement with the language because you're using it for meaningful cognitive tasks, not just for communication practice. Your brain starts to recognize English as a useful tool for thinking, not just a subject you're studying. This shift in perception is incredibly powerful and accelerates your journey toward thinking automatically in English. I also want to address the timeline question that everyone asks. How long does it take to start thinking in English without effort? The honest answer is that it varies greatly depending on several factors, including your current level, how much time you dedicate to practice, the quality of your practice, and your native language. However, if you practice internal monologue consistently for at least 15 to 20 minutes every single day, most learners start noticing significant changes within 4 to 6 weeks. You'll find English words popping into your head spontaneously. You'll catch yourself thinking in English without having consciously decided to do so. You might even start dreaming in English, which is a sure sign that the language is becoming integrated into your subconscious mind. The key word here is consistency. Practicing for 3 hours once a week is far less effective than practicing for 20 minutes every single day. Your brain needs regular, repeated exposure to create those automatic neural pathways. Think of it like learning to ride a bicycle. You can't learn to ride a bike by reading about it for 3 hours. You need to get on the bike, fall down, get back up, and try again repeatedly until your body knows what to do automatically. Language learning works the same way. Regular practice, even in small doses, beats irregular intensive study sessions every time. As we wrap up today's episode, I want you to remember that speaking English without thinking isn't a magical talent that some people have and others don't. It's a skill that anyone can develop with the right approach and consistent practice. Start today with internal monologue practice. Narrate your activities in simple English. Have conversations with yourself. Use English for planning and problem solving. Immerse yourself in English content that genuinely interests you. Practice shadowing to develop natural rhythm and flow. Learn phrases and chunks rather than isolated words. Don't be afraid of mistakes. Simplify when needed. Make English a natural part of your environment and daily life. If you commit to these practices, I promise you that within a few months, you'll be amazed at how naturally English flows from your mind and out of your mouth. Thank you so much for listening to English Flow Podcast. Keep practicing, stay consistent, and remember that fluency is not a destination but a journey. I'll see you in the next episode where we'll explore more strategies to help you master English naturally. Until then, keep that English flowing.